Oh, yes. It is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I am Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsor, Cheshire Impact. Who are these guys? They're on a mission to help you maximize your use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Now, the guest today, really excited. It's taken all of our collective willpowers to not just launch into the conversation before the podcast and just talk about everything already. Amazing guy, expert in social and AdWords and SEO. We're going to talk all about that today. Senior SEO, social media director at JM Internet Group. He is also teaching at Stanford a class, Marketing Without Money, which is basically the story of all marketers who don't have enough budget and funding. He's an author. There's multiple books like Social Media Marketing. There's workbooks, there's fitness books. He's doing a book now, which we're going to talk about. And again, he is amazing. SEO, AdWords, social media. Jason McDonald, sir, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Man, you're doing so much. It's awesome.
I am. I'm multitasking now as we're talking.
Are you? Yes. Good. As long as I can't tell, it's okay.
Right.
So the theme we were talking about for today is all around that CSI, that roadmap for marketing automation, the roadmap for really just doing good marketing. A lot of people we're just batching and blasting, doing, blowing tons of money on Facebook, which I know we're going to talk about. They're just kind of going activity mindset, and they weren't figuring out how to do things. So we created a little roadmap, and each month has been a different theme. And this month is a fun one because it's all about personalization. It's about intent. It's about understanding who you're talking to, lining that up, and then using that information for lead sources like SEO and social and all these things, personalizing landing pages and all those. So knowing that it's such a fun topic, I want to pass you Thor's hammer and ask if there's any myths that you want to just smash right up front. And I'm
smashing the myth. I'm smashing them. Well, they just keep coming at me.
Yes, smash them. What would you
let's smash some myths, okay? Let's smash myth number one. It's all Facebook. That would be a myth I would smash, right?
All Facebook.
Right. So Silicon Valley, right? We're out here in the center of hypedom, right? It's all Snapchat, right? That's a myth, right? You got to do Snapchat. Everybody's on Snapchat.
Do you have Snapchat?
Of course, there's Millions Pardot in Salesforce. It's on Snapchat, but
yeah.
It's not, right? So Snapchat, right, to smash that myth. I love Snapchat. Well, sort of. My 15-year-old daughter loves Snapchat. If you want to reach teenage girls, Snapchat, dude. That is where it's at. But if you're
I meet my baby, like the babysitter when we want to sign her up, like, hey, are you free Thursday? Only way to reach her is Snapchat. It's crazy.
Exactly. Right. So myths, right? So related to that, like the Facebook myth, right? So it's not that Facebook isn't important. Of course it is, but it's not all Facebook. It's like people are like, oh my God, it's all Facebook. Forget Google. Google's like 1990s. Google's like Bell Bottom.
Old school.
No. So it's not, another myth, right? Either or thinking. Either you do Facebook or you do Google.
Right.
You can do both, right? Like you can, you can have a chocolate milkshake and walk your dog. Those are not mutually exclusive. So that would be a myth, Facebook or Google, and really you can do both. And I think Google's actually having quite a comeback, really, to be honest.
Really?
Facebook as a vehicle, and we could talk about that. Another myth I think is for your audience, which I mean, I don't want to rain on everyone's parade, but let me just rain.
Rain. This is hardcore.
A little bit of rain.
They know what they signed up for.
It is something I'm very passionate about too. It's not just technology. I love technology. I do technology. I believe in managing your leads. I believe in metrics.
Yeah.
But it's also content, which you have to have good content. You've got to have content that people are engaged with, that they're interested in.
Right.
And this gets to personalization, right? Which is, at the end of the day, you're selling something to a carbon-based life form.
Yes.
Right? You're not selling something to a machine. You're selling it to a person. And so personalization, technology, metrics, these things are really important, but they won't substitute for good content, and they won't substitute for some personal relationship.
Right. You got to know the people. It's like, hey, we come in peace.
Yeah, I actually was on a website yesterday, sort of to jump into a little anecdote.
Yeah.
And I was on a website, and this little chatbot appeared, right?
Ooh, hello.
And it was like, can I help you? And then, I asked it some questions, and it was clear it was a chatbot, and that was cool with me because I had some questions. And I was looking for some help for a client of mine. But what I really liked is then I got an email, and the email acknowledged, this is our chatbot. So it didn't try to play me like, whatever. It was like, okay, you were talking to a chatbot. And I was like, okay, I kind of knew that.
Yeah.
But I liked that. I liked the fact when I got the email, they said, hey, this is our chatbot, and a real person is going to follow up with you soon about your interest.
Yeah, I love that. Not playing around, not faking.
Yeah, I was like,
don't
you get sick of, it's like, no, you're not really a person. And then you ask them,
I am Jen.
Yes.
How I answer your question.
Jen, I don't think you're a real person.
You're not a real person. I am.
Yeah. So 2001, right? I'm sorry, Hal.
Yes. I'm sorry. Well, did you see that the Google thing that the Google placed a phone call and made a hair appointment for someone?
Yes, and then there was a controversy whether was it real or not.
Oh, really?
Yes, and there's a whole blogosphere explosion. Like, we're all so into conspiracy theories these days.
True. So true.
Well, mi govorim po-ruski. And in the blogosphere, there was like, well, it was faked. That was one. And then there was one, well, it wasn't fake, but they knew, the Chinese restaurant that they called knew that the call was coming. So it was kind of like a little bit of a blowback on that one. Like, was it real or not?
Interesting. Well, I mean, I guess there's still flat earthers out there, so there's always going to be skeptical people.
Hey, outside my yard, it looks flat to me, man.
But you're right. That would be...
Moon landing was fake.
Yeah, moon landing too. What kind of podcast is this? We're going to spiral out of control here, people. This is awesome. It's not even Friday. It's Thursday.
We're keeping the audience engaged.
We are
interested. They want to know about the moon landing being fake. They can go Google that. Now let's return to
wait. Before do you think it really was faked?
No, I don't think it was.
Okay. I'm just checking. I got to understand who I'm talking to here.
I have been, if you're ever in Dallas, there's a museum right there where JFK was unfortunately shot. There's a museum of conspiracy theories. I highly recommend it right there in Dallas. Yep.
Well, I know on accident or some photo that was for practice got put out there as like, this is the moon, and it actually was the practice. So I know that happened, but yeah, interesting. Coming next.
We could way go into that stuff. Stanley Kubrick. I mean, there's some stuff you don't even want to know about with the moon.
I guess when I asked you to smash myths, I didn't specify marketing myths. I just said
the moon landing was fake. We've decided that. Okay.
You have inside information.
Facebook is really important, but so is Google, right? Snapchat is very important if you're reaching the 14-year-old girl demographic.
Right.
What other myths?
Well, hold on. Facebook and Google, they're different, right? I mean,
very different.
People, the either or mentality that you were talking about, but they're not even. It's not even either or. It's not even an or statement.
Both hand. Yeah. So let's just talk about that. So again, I'm a huge believer in technology and really getting down and dirty with the facts, but let's look big picture. So Google is intent, right? Which is, I go to Google and I put in CRM software. That means I am proactively looking for that product. That is really different than on Facebook, where I'm just hanging out with friends and family and photos and 4th of July. And oh, by the way, I see an ad for Salesforce and I'm interested. So that's what I call a share path, right? I'm not interested in it. I'm doing something else. And then influencer marketing, right? Same thing. If I say to this audience, everybody's got to go out and buy the Moz tools for SEO. That's me as an influencer talking about it. And they're like, whoa, what's Moz? Who knew?
I like Moz too.
Share path, right? It's great tools. So share path is different than the search path. And Google is the search path, right? Google is the search path. Facebook, LinkedIn, these are share paths, and they're complementary. And if you understand that big picture, then you can drive into the details, like we'll talk about the Facebook pixel and what does it do and stuff like that. So you got to understand that big picture stuff. Now the problem, right,
Yeah.
Facebook, Google, they have marketing departments, right? God bless them. And they're like, everything should be done on our platform, right?
Right.
Facebook wants you to buy Facebook ads. So they're like, no, you can do everything on Facebook. And it's, they're selling you. They're not,
Yeah.
they're not totally honest, but that's just because they're
And they've
marketers.
tricked people before. They said, "Here, get all these likes on your page." Oh,
Yeah.
you wanted to talk to the people on your page? Oh, that'll be a boost charge. Sorry.
Yeah, they've got a lot of issues on that exact issue about the page, the ability of pages to be in the feed.
Well, let's beat up intent before we go on to Facebook.
Okay.
I want to geek out on Facebook, but intent is so important, but I don't think everyone really gives it the time of day because there are all these other tools, and when you look at them as either or, the reason Google is bajillion gazillionaires and they're taking over the planet and their future Skynet is because they they own intent, right? They're the place to go when you're looking for
They own
people with
intent. That's a good way to talk about it. Well, Genesis is Skynet. Just remember that.
Okay.
They own intent. That's true.
Yeah.
And that's as marketers, right? Just take really, really simple examples, right? So I always use simple examples in my books and in my class at Stanford, right? So take pizza, right? I'm hungry. I want pizza. I go to Google. I type in pizza. That's intent. I am the most likely person to convert because I've already expressed a desire in what you have. That's really different than I'm on Facebook and I'm just doing whatever and I see an ad, pizza's on sale. Well, for that, you've got to sidetrack me from whatever I was doing into something else. That is a much more difficult process than intent. So when you're planning out your marketing, you want to make sure you really crush it when it comes to intent. That if they're looking for what you have, you're out there, you're available, you're ready to go, you've got a good landing page, all the metrics are involved. Those are really important. And this other path is important, but it's a different animal. But intent is critical. And you're right, by and large, Google owns intent, although Amazon is right. People think, what's the number 2 search engine? Number 2 search engine is not Bing, right? Every night when I say my prayer,
Microsoft.
I say my prayers like, please God help Bing, because it would be nice if Bing did better, right? But it's not happening. But Amazon is a huge intent, right? You go to Amazon and you type in dog food and boom, that's your intent. I'm ready to buy. So Amazon is another search engine. So if your products are important, and you're playing the Amazon game, which I play, right? You can go to Amazon and put in SEO and you'll see my book, for instance, right? That's intent. So Amazon is number 2 search engine and it's intent based.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like a better intent than even Google. Google's probably jealous because with Amazon, you're buying things.
You think Google's jealous of the largest search engine on the planet that is money is at play? No.
They're secretly. How can we take?
Oh, they've tried, and they are trying with product search and stuff. They tried, but they kind of, Amazon. It's questioned on that one.
Yeah, Google has to spend all this money answering questions about, flat Earth and.
Is the moon landing fake?
Is the moon landing fake? They make
which is interesting, but no money. What do we?
No money.
Right? So intent. So when your podcast listeners are thinking about their own marketing, right? When you want to think, where is intent in my marketplace, and is it on Google? Is it on Amazon? Sometimes it's on custom search engines. I mean, there are Yelp or VRBO or something like that. Airbnb. Those are custom search engines.
That's true.
Those are intent based. And then they want to think about what's their share path or their influencer path, which is where people are browsing or looking at other stuff and they go, oh, wow, this is interesting. I want to check that out. And that's where your Facebook can play quite a bit. Your blogs can play, et cetera, in that share and that discovery path. So I'm a big believer in get your path straight and then dig into what's out there that really, all the technical stuff that you need to know to master Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever.
Right. And when you have that intent, if it is that search path, you need to carry that as like a flag throughout all the clicks, right? I mean, so many times I see people just put a bunch of money in something. Google, I'm a big fan. Intent is juicy. I love it. It's like a ribeye. So you spend all this money on this intent click. They click and they see your homepage.
Yeah.
They don't. They were promised something, some value, something, that spoke to them, they clicked, you spent that money, you're not getting that back. And then
you're lost.
Yeah,
right?
you're lost.
That gets to user interface design. So this gets to this issue of like, if I'm looking for pizza and I land on your website, it better be pretty clear. How do I order? How do I get directions? What do I do? And that goes for B2B marketing too. You can be selling some Salesforce add-on or something like that, and they Google search it and they find it, that, Salesforce and Facebook integration or something. Then the landing page needs to be really clear, and it needs to have a clear call to action. The call to action needs to be obvious, right? It's got to be obvious.
Yeah, you don't want to bury it in the
don't
nice
bury
paragraph.
Don't bury it.
Bury your lead.
No, they're too busy. No, don't do that. Make it simple. Make it obvious. And simple is even obvious is better. I had a client once, it was an accounting client, believe it or not. We used to have a big, boring, right? We had a big, come on, it's accounting, right? Taxes, boring, and painful. But at the top right, it had a button that was like, free consult, right? And we had it in this garish yellow, right? Yes. It was this hideous yellow, like, and the website designer was like, oh, I hate it. And they made it like gray and pastel. And, and then the leads just went, oh, a crash. And I was like, please give me my garish yellow button back. Yes. Please give us the ugly yellow. And so we ended up with a black on white button. That was our compromise.
Oh, you had to compromise, huh?
Oh, yeah, because the web designer was like, they were like foo-foo graphics.
They want to use this for their portfolio.
and that always is, that's an issue, pet peeve of mine that drives me crazy. I mean, is your website, should it be judged on beauty, or should it be judged on whether it generates leads? And I'm like, leads. Yeah. I don't care what it looks like. It's not an art project, but something you have to compromise, right? Oh, so anyway, so the long and short of it was, by being obvious, it works much better on this website. And we saw that in spades. There's nothing like the panicked business owner saying, wow, we redesigned the website and our leads have plummeted, 70%. What is going on? And I'm like, well, we got rid of the garish yellow button.
You know what? Your website is not an art project. I love that.
True.
Smack. Myth busted.
That's myth busted. Yeah, your website. I mean, and this is I am a writer. I'm a word person. Right. And I have bloggers that work for me, and I often tell them, I say, we're not writing novels here. We're not writing art. We're writing copy that is supposed to sell. And if you want to write an art project, God bless you. But this is not that's not what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. This isn't Jane Eyre, people.
It's not. And it's the same with the look and feel of the website. Is the goal of the website to sell stuff e-commerce, or is it to get sales leads? Right. If it's doing that, it's working. I don't give a hoot what it looks like if it's working.
Right.
I have some websites that are really ugly in our portfolio, but they work. So whatever, right? Yeah. They're working.
Save that extra.
Craigslist. Go look at Craigslist. I mean, you gotta be crazy.
That's true.
Right?
Craigslist is so bad.
Ugliest website on the planet, right? And it works.
You mentioned the garish button. A couple years back, many moons ago, probably longer ago than I want to, fess up to. I was working as a marketing manager. It was like internal agency, and we had an art department. So I put in a request for this landing page. They had, like sign up for some trip information for educational tours, and so they had just like a button, but I wanted to make it big, fire engine red, because I'd read some stuff. I wanted to test it out because I hear, try something crazy. They didn't use any red anywhere, so I just wanted to just make it sing. So I put this request. I was like, extra large, gigantic red, fire engine red button, right? And I put the request in. A couple days later, I get it back. Well, probably not a couple weeks, but I get it back. I don't have time to put any other changes in. All they took was a little HTML button that you get by default from HTML in your browsers, and they shaded it red. Like not even like fire engine red. There was a slight
mellow red,
like a light hue of gray red. I was like, that is not fire engine red, people. But you know what? I didn't have time, so I'm like, let's test it out. So he tested it. It was actually better than I think it had just like a gray blah button. So a little bit of sass in there was way better than the original. And then eventually we got the fire engine, and then
and this is to your point about the metrics, right? So the great thing about all of this is then you can try it out, and see what happens. And you'll be surprised. Sometimes the stuff that you think will work, maybe it's too garish, it doesn't work, it's a turn off to people, it's not the brand, right?
Yeah.
But you can test it. And so that's the thing. You've got to test it and see what works and what doesn't work, and be prepared for surprises, and be prepared for that like, who knew the earth actually is round, right? It does not look that way, but it is.
Yeah.
I know. So
looking out the window just now.
I know. So who knew, right? So the point is, you can test it, and the testing is definitely important. And that's part of the down and dirty with the data, and got to get into. Yeah.
Testing's important. Let me take you over to Facebook, because we started chatting. Google, Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I kind of lean, if I were to lean my political leanings, I lean more toward Google, but in the B2B world. But Facebook has its place, but it's not the end all be all. You already smashed that myth. But what's happening over there? Because you seem to have the insight into the craziness that they're up to.
Yeah. So Facebook is, so here's one thing, right? So Facebook is, as an entity, right? So as a marketing entity, Facebook is more complicated than Google, believe it or not. Even though Google's got AdWords and there's all this stuff in it, but Google is actually pretty straightforward. And here's where I'm going with this. So let's take B2B, right? Because that's your audience, is B2B marketers, right? And let's be honest. If I'm looking for Salesforce automation software, right? That's not Facebook. I'm not on Facebook doing that. Right. Facebook is friends, family, fun, photos, and fake. That's what Facebook is.
I love that.
Right?
Is that you?
Yeah, that is me. Friends, family, fun, photos, and fake. What do I mean by fake? We go on Facebook as our perfect life, our perfect family, our perfect marriage, our perfect trip to Disneyland. It's not reality. That's why everyone gets so depressed when we use Facebook, because we see everyone else's fake reality and we compare it with our real reality.
I'm in Italy.
Yes, like, exactly, right? And you're like, oh, I'm in my cubicle in San Jose working. My life sucks.
I never fight with my husband.
Thank you. Right. Valentine's Day on Facebook. Kill me now. Right.
Oh, right.
So the point is, so here's where it is, think B2B. Now here's what's good about it and how you can work with it, right? So everybody, especially the older crowd, is on Facebook, and even the younger crowd, sooner or later, they're more on Instagram, they're more on Snapchat, but generally everybody is on Facebook.
They'll come around.
It's the Microsoft of social media. Everyone's got an account, everyone's on it, sooner or later people check it. So Facebook has this unbelievable reach into everything. But the challenge is, people are not on Facebook doing B2B stuff.
Right.
Okay, now hold that thought. So we are a B2B marketer, and we know that our audience is on Facebook. The challenge is they're not on Facebook doing B2B stuff. Okay. Now here's where it gets interesting with the Facebook pixel, right? And I always tell people, right, if you know the question, you can find the answer. If your listeners don't even know what the pixel is, they can go to Google and type in Facebook pixel or how to install a Facebook pixel, and Shazam, they will start to learn what the pixel is and how remarketing works on Facebook. Okay, so here's the idea. So you use the pixel to tag everyone that hits your website. So you're a B2B marketer, you're doing AdWords, you're doing SEO, people are landing, they're Googling things like Salesforce automation software or whatever your B2B market is, and they're finding you, and they're hitting your website. And when they hit your website, they're tagged with the Facebook pixel. Okay, then you go to Facebook and you create a custom audience. And the custom audience is everybody that hit my website. So now I have a very targeted audience on Facebook of everyone who hit my website. So then when John Doe, my target customer, is in his pajamas, checking out his, golf game buddy photos on Facebook, I can show him an ad that is for my B2B product. So he is a qualified customer. I have a little bit of a challenge that he's not in B2B mode, but I can use the pixel in combination, right, with Facebook custom advertising to reach my client. And that's where Facebook is really powerful. And it's different than Google would be, because it's a remarketing. Now, Google has its own remarketing we can talk about. That's the GDN, the Google Display Network. It has a ton of problems, and it's a very problematic entity. But just get that concept. So that's where Facebook, even for B2B marketing, can be very powerful. Is in combo with the pixel. But it's more complicated, because you got to get all that. What you don't want to do is go to Facebook and just do demographic targeting for B2B because they don't have good demographic targeting for that type of activity.
Sure.
Because people aren't on Facebook going, yeah, I really want to like, and follow this technical company on Facebook. That's not happening.
Yeah.
So you got to know your T's and I's and Q's to really do Facebook, but there is a lot of value in it, and it's in that nuance.
I love that pixel. It's like if you give a marketer a cookie, what can they possibly do with it? And they'll want a glass of milk.
Yeah.
It's interesting now, but I wonder because that pixel, you might get a lot of bad traffic to your site. So I'm sure there's controls that you can.
Yeah, so there are some controls, and that's like into your deep dive. So you're right. So this is where you got to be careful with your website as well, and you can have some flack and some junk on your website for sure. So you do have this problem, and you're absolutely right. But you can do a lot of cool things with it. You can do AdWords, or you can say every AdWords who hit my landing page on X, then I want to remarket to them. So this is all in the rubric of remarketing.
Right.
And within remarketing, you have the GDN, the Google Display Network, and you have the Facebook network, and those are the two big networks. But now you kind of know what you're doing. You're kind of on the path to better success because you understand you want to do remarketing and you're aware of some of the challenges among them, like you indicate. You can have bad traffic on your website.
Yeah, but it's better than just saying, show me all the, 30-year-old people that like marketing.
Yeah, I mean, I got a client that does hair transplant, for instance, right? And hair transplant's really tough because people don't really go on Facebook and say, "Hey, I have no hair." I mean, they don't do that. So you don't have good demographic targets for that, and you can't just do male age 40 and above because they're not in the market for your service. But anyone who's hit our website is definitely in the market for what we're selling, and then we can use Facebook pixel and remarketing for that issue. So you want to get this back to don't think either or, think both and. You can use Google and Facebook together with the kind of the bridge being the pixel. So
if I start seeing an ad because they scanned my photo and they see that I barely have any hair, if I start seeing an ad for that hair thing, I'm like, man, you got all hacky on those photos. They're data mining people's photos.
Data mining their
You never
photos.
know. They do crazy stuff over there.
Facial recognition, the whole back to conspiracies, right? The other conspiracy people will say, which I, wonder about, is you'll be talking with your friends, maybe on the phone, like, hey, want to go to Disneyland this weekend? Right. We're in Northern California, so we can go down, hey, let's go on the weekend for Disney. Okay, great. And then you hang up your phone and then suddenly you start to see ads for Disneyland. You're like, well, is this a coincidence or what? Or is Google snooping in my Android phone?
Yeah, a buddy of mine posted that on Facebook the other day. They're like, I just saw this ad versus this, and they're not even a marketer, so they really don't know.
Yeah.
And we think it was probably a coincidence, or a friend of his had maybe actually been on the thing, and they were targeting maybe the friends of the
friends of the friends. I don't know. It's freaky. So you can, I don't know. I mean, maybe they are. I mean, I have Alexa.
Or they're just straight out listening.
Yeah, I have Alexa in my home, so maybe Amazon's listening to me.
Do you have Alexa?
Yeah, I love Alexa.
You do? Okay. Did you see that the silver Alexa on SNL? Did you hear about
that? No. Is it a spoof?
It's a spoof. It's for Alexa Silver, and it's designed to deal with the elderly. And they're called, and she responds to like 90 different names. They're like, Alex. They're like, Andre. And she's yes. Like, what's the temperature out like outside?
They need to program more humor into her because we'll ask her questions and she won't know the answer, and we'll say, Alexa, you're so stupid, and she doesn't really respond. And they need to. I mean, I want an Alexa that talks back to me when I'm like, Alexa, you're, and she's like, no, I'm not.
But those things are just in your home listening. It's fascinating.
Yeah, there's marketing opportunities there for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, for us, we're thinking, ooh, there's land here to go after. But tell me, you were a little, I don't want to say not a fan of Facebook when we were chatting earlier, or at least their future.
So this is more corporate direction. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So corporate direction.
This is corporate direction. This is just more my thoughts about Facebook's issues, right? So here's the problem, right? So when Facebook originally said to pages, right? So that would be businesses. So they originally said, hey, businesses, build up your Facebook page, right? And they were promoting likes on Facebook, et cetera. So user would go to Facebook and you'd say, I want to follow Whole Foods and I want to see, stuff about like how to cook better broccoli or God help you, better kale, right? So that would be, I'm identifying that I'm interested in whole foods, and therefore I'm interested in organic, et cetera, et cetera. And Whole Foods had a kind of some skin in the game. They wanted to promote their Facebook page, for this reason. Well, then Zuckerberg and all, a whole bunch of stuff happens.
Minions.
Zuckerberg decides, we want to step this back. We want to walk this back and just be friends and family. So you and I as a person are going to interact with each other. Well, now here's the problem. So if I'm Whole Foods and I have no organic reach for my page, which is essentially the situation today, there's almost zero organic reach for pages on Facebook. Why should I invest in building my page on Facebook? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to promote it. And if I, as a user, never have the opportunity to see posts from Whole Foods, I'm not interacting with the page. So I'm not telling Facebook what I'm interested in. So the problem long-term for Facebook is, you can, hey, Mark, you can throw the pages under the bus now and say, well, screw you, you should advertise, and sucks for you. But in the long run, this means the only demographic Facebook info it's going to have is, you're male, you're female, you like this, you like that, but it doesn't have like, I like Whole Foods, or I like 24-hour fitness, or I like Avis Rent-A-Car, because there's no interaction left. So the money, the demographic knowledge, the information that Facebook has about us as consumers is decaying, is deteriorating.
And that's because we're less likely to like a page because there's no value in it anymore.
Yeah, you can't see it. And the pages don't want to build their organic reach anymore, because why do it?
Why do it?
And you're not interacting with the page, so Facebook doesn't have a data stream in there. So Facebook is in a box about this information. And so long term, so full disclosure, I was saying to you before, full disclosure, I sold all my stock in Facebook. I made a ton of money in Facebook. I bought Facebook stock early.
Bought it at $1.
Bought it when after, that whole, like, it when IPO'd and it was in the, duty. And I bought it. So I made a ton of money. Thank you. And then to be honest, I sold all my money when I saw this stuff coming, because Facebook has got serious problems. And I, and again, full disclosure, I took all that money and I put it in Amazon, because I think as a stock owner, Amazon has got its hand in so many cookie jars. Look at Prime Day. Could we all get more free PR than Amazon? Amazon does.
I know. I heard about that too. My wife was like showing me the thing. I almost bought something on it.
Free PR. It was practically 4th of July. So
Black Friday.
I think Facebook has some serious challenges as a medium that it's got to work on. And it is not as simple as what they're doing now, which is saying, well, sorry pages, no organic reach, which is what they're doing now.
I could see that really being kind of like shooting your foot. I mean, the pages was cool. The idea.
Well, and I think as a consumer, I love my friends and family, don't get me wrong, but sometimes I actually am more interested in getting that recipe from Whole Foods on how to cook Mexican corn
than what your, crazy.
Than what my crazy uncle is doing and whatever, right? So I think that there is a challenge there that they really have not thought through very well. Yeah. And it impacts, and as marketers, what do we really want out of Facebook is we want that demographic information. We want that ability to slice and dice the customer base. And that demographic information is deteriorated on Facebook because of this.
Interesting.
So I'm a little bearish on the way that Facebook is structured. Now, leave all of that aside. And the thing I'm most excited about, especially for B2B on Facebook, is the use of the pixel, because the pixel and custom audiences are very, very good on Facebook, and that's not going away. Right. So again, you got to, don't fall into this, all Facebook is complete garbage. Jason says don't use Facebook. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that long-term, I'm a little nervous about what they're doing, but there's some things I still really like. I really like the way that the pixel works and how it can work. So there's a lot of opportunities. You just have to know the details.
Pixel is kind of like a saving grace. That is, immeasurably valuable. You're getting traffic on your site. You're connecting it to that passive. People are doing something else, and you're still interrupting them. But
that's right. It's still an interrupt form of marketing, but it is there. Now the pixel has its own challenge because of the European stuff.
Oh, geez.
GDPR, right? So you've got that stuff, which is interacting with privacy. So,
Has GDPR affected you much? Because it was all, a lot of the stuff.
No, I mean, most of my clients are
talking about it.
US, it has not impacted the United States because we haven't really gone down that same path. But I think it's not just a European regulation. I mean, everyone is sort of complying with it regardless. And I think what it's doing from the consumer is it's raising awareness of tracking, and people don't like to be tracked. So tracking has a bad brand image problem, right? And people people don't distinguish between, do you want to be tracked by Russian spies who are going to hack the election, which is not necessarily a good thing, and do you want to be tracked by Zappos, who's going to show you that cool pair of sandals that you really do want, right? Those are really two different types of tracking.
Yeah.
But everyone throws the baby out with the bathwater and says, well, I don't want to be tracked by Zappos. And it's like, they're just selling you shoes. So why are you stressing? Right.
Yeah,
but it's just got a negative implication to it. And that's the bigger culture.
I've always seen it as, be helpful, not hurtful. If you're helpful, then
exactly
go for it,
and this is back to like really foundational marketing stuff, is try to sell products and services to people who actually want to buy them.
Interesting.
They're happy.
Imagine the thought.
Not just force your stuff down people's throats who don't want it. And so I think as marketers, to the extent that we sell those hair transplants to people who want hair transplants, everybody's happy. And then if people who don't want a hair transplant, that's fine too. But what you don't want to do is just keep pounding on a person who's like, I'm sick of this message. I don't want this message. I'm not interested. Right. So, devil's in the details. Kinda.
I got like 1,000 robocalls from this thing about changing my health insurance or something or other. And
actually, the IRS is at my door right now, and I'm going to be arrested in a few minutes.
Can you do it live? Can we do it live on the show? It's kind of like getting swatted, Put your hands up.
If on the robocall stuff, there is actually, if you go to YouTube and you put in like IRS spoof, there is a hilarious spoof. Have you seen that, where the guy goes and he makes a big deal and he goes into Target and he says, I'm trying to get the card at Target. I don't know how it works.
Oh, I love those.
It's hilarious. It's like, I'm sure the IRS really wants you to pay with a Target card. That's definitely
go get a Target card and give me the numbers of that. Okay, thanks. It's crazy.
So robocalls are exactly this problem, right? They're just trying to force their way into our lives, and everyone hates them because there's no targeting, or it's just bad.
It's not relevant.
No targeting. They just are blanket, shotgun method of crushing everyone in the world. So they're hated. There's a special place in hell actually for people that run robocalls.
And if I were a dictator, not saying I am or anything, but I would definitely run on the platform of putting all the robocall people in jail.
It's a plague. It's a plague. It's such
seriously. So Facebook, I get it. So it's like measured caution in the future, but in the immediate term, we've got the Pixel. We're good. Although I will say, we were chatting earlier, you could be dropping lots of money, and Facebook they'll take that money fast, almost as fast as blackjack in Vegas.
Yeah, that's true for all marketing, though, right? You want to be judicious with your funds. You've got to
really do
what you're spending, because Google, Facebook, all of them have ad departments, and their job is to suck all your money out. And to be honest, they don't really care whether it works for you or not. They kind of claim they do, but they don't. So you got to be very judicious with how you spend money. The other asterisk I want to make sure people understand: Facebook owns Instagram, and Instagram's pretty much the fastest growing social media platform out there. It's going to be crushing Snapchat, right? If you own Snapchat stock, sell it, because Instagram is crushing it. And so that's another platform that Facebook owns that is very interesting. Now, again, it's not very B2B. It's very consumer oriented, but there are opportunities on Instagram that are important.
I wonder about Instagram. It somewhat feels like we're in a little bit of a transition period right now, or something's weird, because I'll scroll through a feed on Facebook, see some, I guess it's on my phone, so I'll scroll through, I see whatever's happening, great, and then I'll go over to Instagram, and a lot of the same friends I have on Facebook are now on Instagram. Maybe they put their photo there, maybe put them both places. And there's a little bit of confusion going on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I think Zuckerberg was smart in acquiring Instagram because it is kind of a competitive threat to Facebook.
Yeah.
And I think it's the growth platform, because I think a lot of people just like the simplicity of just the photos and not all the nonsense. And so the simplicity is sort of winning. As marketers, it just means through one big platform, Facebook, you can advertise on Facebook, you can advertise on Instagram. As B2B marketers, you have a bit of a challenge, because people are on Instagram for friends, family, fun, photos, and fake as well. They're not doing B2B activities.
Right.
They got a bit of a challenge there.
It's like beach, swimsuit, some cool mountain,
Disneyland
B2B
trip.
software, B2B software on my Instagram. That doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
yeah.
What's going on?
But it's a tougher play. It's a
For sure.
tougher play. So, and then LinkedIn, we can talk a little bit about
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
yeah. Let's talk LinkedIn.
Yeah, so LinkedIn, I think is a little bit of a dark horse here. I mean, but again, it's really coming. There is more going on with LinkedIn. Among very technical stuff that I would recommend, especially B2B audience, think about
Definitely.
targeted in-mail. Targeted in-mail, I've had good success with. So that is where LinkedIn can send an email message for you. So think of it as high quality spam, right? So you go to LinkedIn and you identify, I'm targeting the chief technology officers who are involved in networking software. And then I'm going to have an in-mail that's going to say, I'd like to invite you to my webinar where you're going to learn about how great my B2B software is. So targeted in-mail is a little bit of a push message through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting, and you can do some cool things. And in that mechanism, they're much more B2B focused because that's what LinkedIn is. And then
have you received any of those yourself?
Yes, I have received them, and I use them myself, and I've used them for clients, and they're good. I mean, you got not a lot of people don't open them. That's just the challenge of the thing.
Sure.
But it deals with the issue that a lot of people who have a profile on LinkedIn are not active on it. So it's a way to push your message out to people who are not on it. So that's, and I think, again, back to this other theme, right? So, okay, I have to target, right? Who do I want?
Yep.
I have to set up my in-mail, a little bit of technical there.
Yep.
I've got to have my offer, a webinar. And then this is where you can have the most fabulous technical, everything is great. If that webinar is crap, right? If the webinar is bad and it doesn't work, or the message is stupid, or it's just boring, then you've got them all the way to your webinar only to lose them because your webinar is not good. So you got to have it, it's not either or. It's not just do all this stuff and then don't worry about the webinar. You got to have a great webinar that is interesting and compelling to make it work with your marketing. And so content, I'm a huge content person. You've got to produce good content. You just have to.
I'd love to talk about that. It's funny. I keep hearing that it's not either or, it's both. It's do both. Same thing for, you could do all the lead gen in the world, but if you've got, crap at the back end, no landing page or crappy landing page, it doesn't offer anything of value, no good webinar, no one's going to either click, or they're just not going to convert, and you're going to spend all that money. Or you can have really good webinars and no one comes to them because they don't know about them.
Exactly. Bingo. That's another thing. You've got this great webinar, you've got this great YouTube, you've got this great content, and you have no promotion strategy and no one sees it. So what's the point?
Right.
It's not, I'm an author, right? As you know, I do a lot of books. One of the great things about living in the Bay Area, in addition to the incredible high prices, which the benefit is that means when we travel anywhere, we think everyone else it's so inexpensive, right? And we go to New York and we're like, wow, New York, it's so cheap.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So in addition to the really astronomical prices, there's a lot of really good book publishing stuff here. So there's a lot of really smart people in the book industry, and I do all this book stuff with the book community. And one of the things that are just like, wow, you produce a book, you got to spend as much or more time promoting it than you do writing it.
Interesting.
This is true for a webinar. You're going to produce a webinar on your product. That's great, but you've got to spend as much or more time promoting that webinar to make it work. It's not either or. You got to have both of those pieces for success. And then when you get into promotion, like, do I promote it on Facebook with the pixel? Do I promote it on LinkedIn with the in-mails? How do I promote it is a technical question, and you dive into the aspects of that. But you want to think about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, especially for books. And maybe let's chat a little bit about, you've got multiple books. You've got, as many books as J.K. Rowling?
Not quite as popular, but yeah, right. Don't make me feel bad.
You're being
okay.
Humble. Being humble.
I actually tell my mom, I'm in the top 5% of authors, right? which is I'm a member of the Authors Guild in New York, and they make you sort of put your sales figures up if you're self-published, which I am, in order to join. And then they send you these emails and data. And so I'm in the top 5%, which sounds awesome, right? But the problem with authors is the top 1% of 1%, the J.K. Rowlings and Stephen Kings of the world, they're making like $1 billion, right? And the rest of us are making like maybe, 60K, 100K in royalties. Right. And then the people at the bottom make nothing. So whatever, right? So I have my books that really sell well. I have an SEO book, search engine optimization. I have a book on AdWords. I have a book on social media. I'm working on the 2019 editions of those. So those will be out probably in September.
Oh, cool.
And those can be found on Amazon. And then I'm working on a new book called The Marketing Book. That's a book, it's kind of a step back from my other books to help people with basic marketing concepts. Because I find a lot of people I work with, I'll say to you like, well, hey, give me your business value proposition. Like, give me your unique selling proposition. Right. And you're like, I don't know. And then you're like, well, who do you sell to? What are your customer segments? And they're like, what's a segment?
Right.
And I mean, seriously, big companies, you can have this problem. And so this book is like your basic marketing concepts that no one ever told you in marketing class if you took one. Or if you've never taken a marketing concept class, you'll learn like, what is a buyer persona and how do you imagine your buyer personas and get that conceptual stuff. So that's a new book that I hope to have out by the end of the summer.
End of the summer. Are you doing the 2 crappy pages a day, or what's your methodology for getting that done?
My methodology for writing is I write every morning from about 6 to 7:30 in the morning.
Cool.
So I get up religiously and I do not answer my email and I do not check my phone and I try to avoid the stupid news cycle and I just sort of try to write and then I write it and then now I'm editing it. And I love technical. And I just learned, and maybe your audience knows this, I did not know that this happened until very recently, but within Microsoft Word, they have a feature where you can get it to read to you. It'll read to you.
Really?
Which is excellent because it's a great way to catch errors.
Right, because your brain just...
And then I'll have it read to me. Yes, and then it reads to you. And then as you're listening to it, you'll often catch those annoying typos or those grammatical. So I use Grammarly, which is a great paid tool for grammar. And that checks your grammar, and then I have it read to me. So I have a whole little machine of how I write content. And right now I'm at the almost final phases. So it's I think my wife and children think I've lost my mind because I have this automated reader reading my book to me. But it's great. So that's a great little tool inside of Word to check like a press release.
Right.
To read it to you. So so that's my writing methodology.
That's huge because that happens to me all the time. I'll do like a LinkedIn post and I'm just going to town. It's crazy. And then I really don't want to edit. So it's all I can do to just, read this paragraph. And
if you read it yourself, you skim it. When you skim it too fast. Whereas if you had it read to you, and the computer voice is actually useful because it slows down and you will catch the errors when you have it read. So Grammarly, excellent tool for writers. And have the Word, go in Word and you go to view, I think it's review tab, and it'll read to you.
Does the paperclip pop up and start talking to you, or how does that work?
The paperclip was version 1, so stop capping on the paperclip, okay? Plus, you're showing your age. I know. Younger people don't know the paperclip.
Teenagers go, "What's he talking about? I'm gonna go listen to someone else." It used to be a paperclip on there.
The paperclip.
Hi, can I help you?
It was trying. It was artificial intelligence version 1.0.
Yeah, it's your chatbot. Yeah.
Now we're waiting for the singularity, and Genesis is Skynet. Just remember that.
Genesis is Skynet. So I'd love to hear. Tell us a little bit more about this marketing book, and I think we even touched on some basics earlier. What are you looking at? I heard personas. I heard back to the basics. Maybe some sort of don't tell everyone everything, but some more teasing.
So some things in there that I think, again, as an observer. So let me talk about my background for a second, which is I'm a strange person, right? So I have a PhD. So I was originally going to be a professor, and I went to Berkeley. I have a PhD from Berkeley, go Bears. And it was in political science, and I wrote it on Eastern Europe. I wrote my dissertation policy in Eastern Europe. But I learned a lot at Berkeley about how to think about concepts and theories and ideas and all this very intellectual stuff about kind of how to make sense of craziness and conceptualize it into a theory, right? So when I get to marketing, right, and I start working on marketing, I've been teaching marketing for many years at this point. You know, I kind of realize it's kind of a messy domain. People haven't really thought through very much what they're doing. And so I have a good mind for concepts, and I like to explain things to people. And I think I have a pretty good skill for looking at something and saying to people, look, this is what we're doing. This is what you're doing. Bring it up to the surface, and let's think consciously about what we're doing, right? So for instance, in the marketing book, the chapter I'm most interested in, I'm most proud about, I have a chapter about rhetoric and about logical fallacies and how logical fallacies work. So there are lots of logical fallacies, and again, the book talks about some of this, but a common logical fallacy is what's called the ad hominem attack. And the ad hominem attack, right, is you attack the person, not the argument. So you say, oh, Hitler was a terrible person, and then, well, Hitler believed the world was round, and you say, well, he was a terrible person, so therefore the world can't be round. Because Hitler thought the world was round, right? That's an ad hominem logical fallacy, is that I don't like this person, so therefore what they're saying cannot be true. Well, if you flip that around, we do that all the time in marketing when we get these celebrity spokespeople and we say, you know, well, Kylie Jenner likes this type of perfume, so therefore this perfume is really going to be awesome for you too. Or, you know, if Michael Jordan wears this basketball shoe, if you wear that basketball shoe, you too will be an awesome basketball player, right? So that's a logical fallacy, and that gets us into influencer marketing. And a little cynical here as a marketer, you want to think, well, how could I use influencers or celebrity spokespeople to promote my brand? And to be brutally honest, you are kind of pulling the wool on people's eyes a little bit sometimes with this tactic. Now, there also are true experts. If you're an expert in physics and you tell us that the math proves the world is round, you have expertise, which is credibility, you should be believed. But in this book, I have a whole bunch, like 12, 13, 14 logical fallacies, and explain how are they used in marketing, and a little bit of like, let's go to the dark side, and how could you use those to sell your product. And we do this all the time as marketers, but we're not really consciously aware, like, oh, I'm going to use a logical fallacy here now to move, you know, my people towards the promised land of buying my product. So
being more intentional about that, like it's happening.
More conscious of what are we doing? What are we trying to do? And a lot of the book is helping marketers understand that. So back to Facebook, right? Once you understand that Facebook is the share path and Facebook is the friends, family, fun, photos, and fake path, then you know what you're dealing with. And Google is the search path and the intent path. Now you've got a conceptual framework and you can kind of orient yourself. What should I be doing? And I find these very basic concepts, a lot of people have never really thought, like you said to your average person, average marketer, what's the difference between Facebook and Google? How are they really at rock bottom? What's different about them? People, I don't really know. And if you throw Amazon in that mix, how is Amazon like Google? Well, I don't know. Well, Amazon's a search engine. It's not a social media network.
That's a great hiring question.
Yeah. I mean, how are they actually different? And I think people, as they use them, they don't really understand, well, how are they different? But once you understand that, once you have some concepts, then you can really become a much better marketer. And as a recovering intellectual, right? I was, you know, you and your taxpayers, you spent over $100,000 on my PhD. I did the whole thing for free. I got government money for the whole enchilada, right?
Well, so you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining my podcast.
Thanks for taxpayers.
We're even, I guess.
I am trying to use that money to give back in a good way to me and my kids.
That's right.
But yeah, so once you get some basic concepts, there's a lot. So that's what that book is about, is some of these really basic concepts that people haven't thought through. And once you think them through, you can really apply them to your own marketing and be better at it. Be better.
So needed. So when do you think that's out? Summer, you said, or
summer? Yeah, it should be out
really?
late summer. Yeah,
wow.
I'm working my tail off on it, and I've got, you know, I'm almost done with the draft, but then we got to do the cover. And it's my first book that is I wrote for audio. It's going to come out on Audible.
Yeah.
I wrote it audio friendly, so it's very much the spoken word. It's because interesting enough, things that are growing, marketing things that people are growing, podcasts like you're doing,
right,
growing. Audio is a huge growth industry. Everybody's busy. They get sick of the news cycle. They get sick of radio. They want to get in their car, get in their gym, put their headphones in, and listen to a podcast
right,
on something that helps them, right?
yeah.
And audiobooks the same thing. So audios. This is an audiobook. It's written for audio.
That's cool. And it's a great option. I love Audible. And who would have thought a couple years ago when it said I had like four things in my library. I was there the other day and it showed me like 45 things. And I don't know how that snuck up on me, but
yeah. So I don't know if people listening are Audible people, right? So I'm an Audible person. I'm kind of like being a good drug pusher. I'm both a user and a seller.
Yes, you are.
Right? So I've got both sides there. So I'm a huge Audible user. I love Audible. And one of the little technical things I think people don't know about, please don't wrap me out to Audible here, but in your Audible account, you can give back any book that you don't like on Audible.
What?
Yeah.
Is there a time limit for that?
No, you can get, so I try to be a good, Christian and not go to hell. So my policy on Audible is I listen to a book. If I listen to the whole book, I buy the book. But if I listen to the book and I'm into chapter 2 and I'm like, this book sucks, I don't want to listen to it, then I will return the book. And you can do that. You go into Audible, you have to look at like your settings, or you can just go to Google and type in something like how to return a book.
Google's like, take that, Amazon.
Boom, right? And so what's great about Audible is that means you can really try books out, and then if you don't like them, turn them back in. And I do this all the time.
Wow.
All the time. And I love it because that way you don't, you can listen. I'm a big fiction. So I listen to fiction.
Yep.
And if I don't like it, give up on it.
Interesting. No, you got me off in a tailspin there. I'm gonna have to spend the rest of the afternoon just going through my.
Save some money, dude. Save some money.
There's some bad ones that you buy. You're like, no, geez, I listened to the sample and I still tricked. But I actually listened to a good one recently. They had a 2-for-1 special on Audible for great courses. Yeah. And as a recovering intellectual, you might appreciate this. I actually scooped up a couple, but one of them I really have enjoyed is the history of ancient Egypt.
Yeah, sure.
It has nothing to do with work, nothing to do with anything. I'm not selling. I have no AdWords related to Egypt. It's just been fun to learn about something.
Yeah. I've listened to there's a good one on rhetoric, which I really enjoyed. There's a good one on writing novels, which are in this great courses category.
I saw that. Yeah.
Those are good too. And I agree. And I just think as marketers, right, and we could talk a little bit about the whole podcast thing. There are podcasts that vendors can do that could be useful for reaching their customer base. And then back to this promotion thing, you can use social, you can use Google to promote your podcast as a vendor. So there's a lot of things you can do between the content production, which is what podcasts really are, and the promotion, which is what social or SEO or AdWords is.
Right. And really marrying those two together.
You'll kind of look around your society and what do you see that's growing is people are disconnecting from the mainstream media. They're disconnecting from TV long time now. They're disconnecting from radio, and they're going into their little hovels when they're at the gym, when they're on the train, when they're in their car. And lifelong learning, everybody has got to keep up with their industry, whatever. So lifelong learning, and that's where podcasting and audiobooks are a growing market. So there's a lot of really exciting things in that market, I think.
I love that. Now, I have a question, and you've kind of hinted at it a little bit. Who are you, and how PhD? You're welcome. And then an author, Audible, all these books. Rubbing shoulders with JK. And,
right. I wish.
And James Patterson. And, so
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, take me back.
Yeah. So so how I got into this is I have a PhD from Berkeley. I got that in '92. And that was like the end of the Cold War. And then I was like, I don't want to be a professor. And I had like I had one of those like life-changing moments at 30. So I had broke up with my girlfriend of many years at the time. I went to Princeton and was interviewed at Princeton for a position, which fortunately I did not get, right? So I flew back from New York, from Princeton. to the Bay Area, and I just like had this meltdown. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't like this. I don't want to do this. I'm done. I love being a graduate student, but I don't want to do academia.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time to get those degrees.
Yeah, it's a lot. So then I was like, I quit. I mean, I finished my PhD. I got my dissertation done, so I have the PhD. Although I have a recurring dream that I didn't. One of those nightmares, like I didn't fill my paperwork at Berkeley. I'm being busted.
You're gonna get snail mail, a couple of weeks from now saying, we didn't get the 3rd and 9th page of your dissertation.
Yeah, failed.
Yeah.
So any rate, so I had no money, zero money, right? And so I went to work at a computer company where I met my wife, my beautiful, loving, adorable wife, if she's watching, at that company. And then at that time, all the jobs were in San Jose. And so I got a job at a media company working for Intel, AMD, Motorola, the big chip companies. And that's how I got into the media environment.
Right.
That was right at the kind of dawn of the internet. And then from there, I started a kind of what today would be called a blog. It wasn't really a blog at the time.
Sure.
It was a pre-blog. And that blog was for embedded systems engineers. And that got me into SEO and how information flows. And all of my Berkeley stuff has been very useful in understanding that. So that got me into kind of like the digital world.
Right.
And then as that business kind of matured and that industry kind of fell apart when the economy collapsed in 2008, then I said, hey, I really like the teaching and the books. And then I sort of expanded what I was doing to any industry and kind of reinvented myself as more of a teacher, author, consultant for all sorts of digital marketing. And that's what I do today. So my clients today are not really techie anymore. They're all over the map. But that's how I got into this. And I love it. I love marketing is applied social science. Marketing is applied sociology. Marketing is applied psychology. And I really love it. And I also like how you unlike academia, you actually do something. You actually measure something. You find it at the end of the day. Did I make money or did I lose money? So you've got a track record, whereas academics have this horrible problem of just, pie in the sky. There's no metric. They're just out there doing crazy things,
Yeah, science is much more fun when you can apply it and see it.
Yeah, and I like applied stuff. My dissertation was on economic policy, so I liked applied stuff. I've always liked applied sort of things.
Do you think that's sort of entered into your approach for marketing? From all that,
for sure.
All that
yeah,
study?
For sure. Because economics, I've always been very interested in economics, and it's all about like what motivates people and why people buy the things they buy. And then you also learn that people are predictably irrational, right? So Dan Ariely, right? He wrote this book, Predictably Irrational. And you learn that people are predictably irrational. And then you can kind of take advantage of that is one way to think about it, or you can just accept it. That's how people are. And work with it, and that's applied social science. How do people really act, as opposed to how do they tell you they act?
Right.
How do you think they act? And marketing, I think, of all the disciplines in business, we really learn how do people really act, what really motivates people. And newsflash to the engineers: the better mousetrap is not what wins. It's not the better. You need a mousetrap, but not necessarily the Betamax VHS, right? Not the better one doesn't win. Often the one that's good enough but has really good marketing is the one that wins.
Right.
And that's exciting and interesting.
Yeah, it's like Blu-ray and HD, CD-ROMs or whatnot. Like, yeah.
The best does not always win. I begin because I'm out here in the Silicon Valley, and I've dealt with lots of engineers, God bless them, and they have the fallacy of the best product wins. And that's not true. That's not true. But they think, well, we've got this great product and it's technically the best. And you're like, that's important. Yes, good. But that is not sufficient. And you've got to market it. You got to have the pizzazz.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into what I'm doing now. And I love the teaching. I love the books. I teach at Stanford Continuing Studies, and I really like the teaching aspect of it. And that's fun for me. I enjoy talking to people and helping people and just what's going on in their lives.
I'm sure you get to see them put into action, or at least.
I do. I encourage people in my books to send me questions. I get questions from all over the world, and I see all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I have so many bizarre I have people. I had a woman call me once. It was so sad. She called me once. I'm from Oklahoma. She's from Oklahoma too. She called me, said, I had this great idea for a business. It was a custom mattress business for babies and truck drivers. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, but I've lost all my money because I hired a really unethical SEO company, and I spent my life, it's so sad, I spent my life savings on this SEO company. And I was like, did you ask for references? No. Did you ask for projects they've done? No. And I'm like, well, you're an idiot. You gave them $50,000 without no due diligence. 50 grand or her life savings. Long and short of her business really wasn't that stupid. In the back of a truck, there actually is a mattress often, and those are custom mattresses. And then there's like people with asthma and stuff. So it really was not, it was actually a decent business idea. It was selling custom mattresses on the internet. But she, you know, life is cruel. She didn't do her
There's a lot of bad SEO shows.
Oh, God, it's
They're
terrible.
so like snake oil salesman kind of thing.
Yes, I'm ashamed. Let me just apologize right now for that whole industry, because it's full of hucksters.
Gross.
It's got a real problem with hucksters and thieves.
Eventually, Facebook will have its own shadow team.
Probably. It's got some, but it's not as bad. You're right. The SEO is the trailer trash of this whole industry. It's got the worst. I mean, some of them are excellent. Some of them are so smart, and some of them are very honest, myself included, I hope. But some are terrible.
Yeah. And it works, but then when you have that negative fog over it all, it kind of...
It's got a little bit of a black magic perspective, and it does have things in there. So.
But then every now and then, JCPenney's, you know...
Oh, you are really showing your age.
Oh, is that old? Oh, no.
Oh, that's real dirty little secrets of search. You can Google that. That's New York Times. That's quite a while back. Yeah.
I thought that was... Well, yeah, but 2000s though, right?
Dude, it's 2018.
Okay. That's true. Time flies.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Snapchat generation, put your phone down, go to Google, type in dirty little secrets of search. New York Times' article about JCPenney getting busted for black hat SEO.
Yeah, it's awesome. You should check it out. Put it in the show notes. Speaking of which, what's great places to connect with you? Where do we go?
Google me. So just Google Jason McDonald. I'm at the top of my search, and I'm very proud of that. There's a guy who has 6-pack abs. I'm ahead of him. There's a football player who, you know, I grew up in Oklahoma, so I have an inferiority complex towards athletes. A couple people with the same name as me that were much more important, but I crushed them out of.
Crushed them. Yes.
They're gone. So Revenge of the Nerds, baby. So Jason McDonald, you go to Amazon, you can type in Jason McDonald, you put in SEO, social media marketing, or AdWords on Amazon, you'll find my books very, very easily. So that's the easiest way to find me.
You know, and we'll link in the show notes, but true to form, we'll link to the Google search in the show notes.
Okay.
Actually, that would show up as organic for you, but I suppose that's okay. We'll figure it out. But either way,
Google SEO expert Bay Area, SEO consultant Bay Area, because I do a lot of Bay Area work, and you're to rank in local, so I rank them. But yeah, just Google Jason McDonald, you'll find me, no problem.
Cool. Well, this has been fun. This has been really cool. Time flew by, just like the 2000s, apparently.
Yes, apparently. Yeah, you've shown your age.
What year is this? Well, thank you so much for coming.
Well, it's been great to be on your show, and I hope the listeners got something out of it, and it's always an honor.
Absolutely. Intent, all sorts of lessons, the different pathways, and maybe even trimming up your
Facebook Pixel.
Oh my gosh.
How to use it wisely.
So yeah, the show notes for this. There's so much good stuff in there, but this has been great. So thank you again.
All right. Thanks.
Awesome. And everyone else, listen, if you learned something, and if your ears were open, if this was playing, then you probably did. So share this with someone else, help them out, get them that information so they can not make the same mistakes or actually do better at their marketing. So share this with other people. And this is it. This has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. So thanks, everyone. We'll catch you next time.